Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies. Open.
I don't know why I keep giving alien street food a chance. It's always such a gamble.
Captain, we're being hailed.
On screen.
Hello and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we are trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. As always, I'm your host, Mike Jones, and joining me here in the virtual studio, the day was long, so the intro is stale. It's Damien.
She's just like, I'm not writing him an intro today. Thank you. That's okay. Mine for you isn't much better. Hi, Mike Jones.
Hi. Okay, let's get to who wrote that intro. She has yet to reserve her hotel for Trek Long Island, and we are not afraid to bully her about it. It's Lanita.
And that is correct. There are things going on over here in this household. It'll happen eventually. Thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome. It's lovely to walk away from our pesky day jobs and sit and chat about Star Trek for a little bit. So I'm so happy to see your friendly faces. And I want to get right into today's episode. You read the title before you started playing today's podcast. We are talking about Trek Long Island. But before we start, we need to do some background. It's been a long road getting from there to here. So here's the thing. As many of you know, we've been getting more into the Star Trek convention world. In April of last year, Damien and I went to the D&I convention in Philly. Then in November, Lanita joined us for her very first convention ever at Trek to New Jersey at the Creation Convention. So with 2025, the year we're in now, and since our sponsorship dollars are still forthcoming, we made the decision to, if we're to all of us go to a con, pull our resources, which one do we go to? There are several options. We're very far away from Vegas, even though it would be fun. But we started to look at the guest list of these various conventions and noticed a trend with one con in particular. It included some familiar names. Our regularly recurring co-host, Matt Jennings from 1701, A Blurred Story. Sabrina from Sci-Fi Sisters. We love her. Derek Tyler Attico, author of the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko. And our dear friends, Sunil, Lee Ellen, and Austin from Too Proudly Go, and of course, the drag headliner herself, Heather Wood. Whew! Needless to say, it was immediately a no-brainer that Trek Long Island is where we need to be. And somehow, don't ask us how, we booked the founder of Trek Long Island herself, friends, founders, and Ferengi. Please welcome Sefanie Gangone, and joining her director of convention operations and most friendly boy, Paul Michael Adams. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Good to be here.
We couldn't believe that there was already a convention existed that literally, and of course we'll leave it to you to tell us like who your like celebrity headliners are. But when we saw that like all of our friends and past podcast guests were at the same convention, we were like, what do they know that we don't?
Exactly.
Also, we should add.
Hey, this is actually funny you say that. I'm like learning this year that I swear to you, I could get William Shatner and the ghost of Leonard Nimoy, and it wouldn't make a difference as long as everybody's friends are there. Like, it was just, and everybody just wants to go see their friends. And so, of course, I get celebrities. I find people that are from the new show, the older shows. But it really is about, finding your friends there. Because if you're going alone, it's just, you're just alone.
Well, and it's funny because that's a conversation that we've had that like, we love the celebrity headliners. They're the reason for the season in a lot of ways. But what it comes down to is that that it's the people that you meet there, it's the community that you build around you, the people that you stay connected to that are kind of the reason to go.
It's a community. When Shatner did that documentary, well, he did a number of documentaries, but he did one of those a few years ago about the convention world. And he said that he, thought originally, well, they're coming to see me. And then he realized we come to see each other, and that we're kind of entrenched in this sort of ritual of it's part of what holds our lives together is this community. It really is a diverse and caring community. If you get outside of the comments online and get face to face with people in conventions.
Find your people. We're out there.
Yes.
But what
Yeah,
we should ask you, Stephanie, of course, is we've talked about our friends who will be there, but I'm sure that you want to tell us, of course, all about the celebrity headliners and what you have in store for us.
Yeah, I
At this
guess I
point
can
in
do
time.
that. So this year, I have to bring up my sheet because I get so confused and I started asking people from last year. I swear to you, I tell everybody's last year's dates all the time. People just show up to the convention on last year's
Oh,
dates.
maybe why don't you
Yeah,
lead with
this
the
year's
dates?
dates. Yeah.
Let's get the vitals out there
Okay, the vitals
ASAP.
that everybody
Yes.
remembers. Okay, May 30th through June 1st, 2025. Not the other day that I tell everybody. That's it. I swear I say the wrong thing all the time. It's very embarrassing. So I gotta say, okay, I just want to say the first person, and I'm just so darn excited that I don't curse. So you're gonna laugh at me. I say darn and gosh darn it a lot. Okay, children's librarian. I'm sorry.
It's
So I'm
okay.
so darn excited that we have John Noble coming, and oh my goodness, John Noble. Okay, and I'm really
Wow.
excited for that. That's like my super duper excitement is John. So yes,
I don't think I've seen his name on any other convention. I has
he
he
part.
done the Trek convention thing?
He has, but not that often.
Okay.
He lives Australia, but he just
What?
happened to be out
Oh.
here during that time. So
Wait,
okay.
and are you flying him from Australia for this?
No, 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 I don't have to. He's gonna be here. He's gonna be here.
Amazing.
I
Okay.
know.
Okay.
That's why I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is happening.
That's great.
Also we have Miss Terry Farrell coming, who was super excited to meet. I always see her from afar, but I never get to meet her because her line is too long. So I'm always like, I want to meet you, but I can't, so I won't.
Amazing.
Andy Robinson. Andy Robinson will be there. I've met him before. Oh, what a nice guy. What a nice man.
Derek
I'm really
himself.
excited. Really, really excited to see him. We got Celia Rose Gooding. I'm excited for her. She's the
Yes.
sweetest. I met her at a convention that I remember that there weren't a lot of people there, so I got to spend some time with her, and she's so sweet. Oh my God, I love her. And then we
I have
got
to. Oh,
uh,
sorry. Not to interrupt, but Celia Rose Gooding. I was the last time we went to a convention. She was there, and I was on the phone with my husband, who's a big theater person. And I was like listing the people, and I was like, Celia Rose Gooding. Maybe you've heard of her. He's like, Broadway legend. Like she's amazing. Like she's
I
in the
know.
Star Trek show, and I'm like, yes.
She sings.
Multi-talented.
They made that episode for her. Let's be honest.
Obviously.
It was. Who else do I have? I also have John Billingsley. John Billingsley,
Yes.
and I never say her name right. Ready? Bonita Fried Ricey. Is that how you say her name? I know it's something like that. That's his wife, and I'm excited that she's coming. I'm really excited. They both own the. Wait, do they own the Hollywood Food Coalition? And
Oh,
this week, Trek Talks is raising money for them. It's like really cool. They're awesome people, very, very kind, very, very giving, and I'm super excited. And I hear John is like really out of his mind, and we're having a bunch of parties, and I don't think he's gonna leave them. I think he's pretty much just gonna be at the parties. So
That's
I'm very
awesome.
excited. Who else? Who else? Tiffany Shepis is coming. We also have the Morrises, both Morrises, Iona and Phil Morris. They were original series. They were here. They are. They were here. Here we go. There's
yeah.
Phil Morris. There they are.
Excellent.
Okay. So, and my most exciting person ever in the universe that's coming is Elena Watko. Now you're gonna be like, oh, why do you want her to go? Because she was a librarian. She's the librarian from Discovery. Of course, I wanted her. She's the first one I wanted.
Oh,
That's
wait,
amazing.
from
This is
that,
not everybody else.
from the,
Yes.
I don't have the words to, Mike,
The
right?
way she
Clarify this.
said, I've never had a book visit the library.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my God.
That's
right?
amazing.
terrific.
I'm
She was so
excited.
good.
So my assistant calls me. She's like, I didn't even ask. I just booked her because I knew you'd say yes.
I love it. I love it.
Lois Sorrell. She's an original series. Yes, it is. You'll recognize her there, Lois Sorrell.
Mhm.
Susan Doyle will be there. Sadly and heartbreakingly, we actually lost 2 guests that couldn't make it, Rachel Antrill and Patrick Kwok-chun, again, another one I can't pronounce right.
From Discovery, yeah.
Discovery, yeah, but we're going to work on getting them back in 2026. So they couldn't get here this year, but we're all excited about getting them here 2026.
I have a question, like when just logistically, right? So putting on a con seems like a huge endeavor, just off jump,
I drink a lot of coffee, yes.
which is great. Coffee is delicious. How do you like go about, like, I feel like everyone has an agent but like finding their agent or finding their publicist, and then like, what is the ask and how do you distinguish yourself from a different con? What is it that like Trek Long Island can say, you want to come to us because X? Not that you're disparaging another con, but being like,
Yeah.
us,
No, I can't
us.
do that. You know, I gotta say, when I started fresh. I went to Vegas first, and I just introduced myself to everybody. Just made a good impression on people in general. I used to work for, I still work for the Doctor Who convention, Long Island Doctor Who, and I learned a lot there. So I learned so much of Doctor Who. So I kind of knew what people were looking for. If I went up there like in cosplay, I could it they wouldn't have taken me seriously.
Mm.
Yeah.
You go, you dress very professionally, you meet the people, then you contact people. You say, hey, listen, I'm a newer convention. Ages are reasonable. They know you're new. You're not going to be able to afford William Shatner, and they're reasonable, and they want to see you succeed because that's just another convention that their people can go to and make money at.
Mm.
So
Right.
you kind of start, my first year I started off with a bang because I just wanted the attention. My first year I got Doug Jones and David Ajala. I went out there.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was rough, but if I started with like just 4 red shirts and somebody who didn't even get a shirt, then I would have nobody would have been
Right.
there.
Right.
I would
Gotta
have got
place on the
nobody.
map.
Yeah, you got to start with a bang. Okay.
You
I
got
mean,
it.
I figured as much, like us just DMing people or like sending an email, and you throw it out there and you hope for the best that someone's going to
Yeah.
say yes. I just know that like the endeavor, this is like on a different level because there are people who are more veteran actors. There are folks who are in the newer current franchise, you've got all breadths of people, not just people in front of the screen, but also, having a writer, or if you're having a panel, having people who have directed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's impressive.
A lot of the newer people, the newer guests, they want to get to the conventions because they never got to meet their fans before. They want to get out there, want to meet them. So
Yeah.
I know this is Elena's first convention, so she's going to get out there. She's going to be in shock with the amount of people. Going to be like, librarian. I do. I think she's going to be
Some of
overwhelmed.
the newest cast members used to be fans. They were fans and they grew up watching the shows, and then they were fortunate and lucky to get cast on some of these new shows, and for them it's like a dream come true. I wanted to, Lenita, answer your question too in another way. I heard your question is like, how do you become involved in conventions too? I wanted to mention that, like, for me, growing up, I became involved when I worked at a comic shop and was a vendor. And then next thing you know, you start falling in love with the environment and you might start volunteering. So if someone wants to become involved, what you do is you start volunteering and you work programming, you work autographing, you help with the photo lines. And the next thing you know, you might become a talent handler, and then you're working with the convention teams, and you start to meet the agents. So progressively over time, a lot of us have the same story about, we kind of became involved, and then once you become involved, then the next thing you know, you find yourself in conversations with the people about putting a convention on. And that's a very short recap of maybe something that occurs over a number of years, but that's how people have become involved. When you're dealing with a franchise that's almost 60 years old, and some of us who are fans like 30 years, that's how you become involved. Is you become immersed in it, and the next thing you know, you're helping to run these conventions.
Because I've been to
And,
conventions where the person running it's never even been to a convention, and
Mm.
they're
Mm.
lost. They're
yes.
lost. And like you really have to. you have to be in the world for a while. You
Yeah.
have to you really need to network. And even what I'm doing, it's hard. And you're I'm not a rich person, okay? And it's really a lot of you get out there. It's like a new business. All this is a small business. I
Yeah.
got my business loans, I got my, line of credits, and I went for it and hope for the best. That's all, really it is. And if it's something you want to do, you're really the key is if you don't have a good staff, you're not going to do well. You need the best staff you can get. You need a staff, a good staff.
Now,
I
Paul,
could
you just sort of told us in a general way how one moves up into through the convention world. Now, can we assume that this is how you became involved in Trek Long Island? How did you connect with Stephanie?
Absolutely. I met Stephanie actually, I'd say the first time we met was at Shore Leave. I was volunteering and working at Shore Leave, which is a Maryland-based, also a charity-based convention, one of our colleague conventions. And then from there, conversations continued, and she needed help with this year's con, and I definitely wanted to become more involved. But it's exactly back to what Stephanie said. It's getting to know people in the community and knowing where you want to help and where you want to contribute, because all of us volunteer. And if you're volunteering your time and energy, you want to put it to a very worthwhile cause. And in this case, Trek Long Island, I believe in its mission. It's a charity-based convention, and this is its third year, which this year, of course, Stephanie is focusing on the Library for the Kind, but in past years, the support for the Pop Hero Coalition, the Lavelle School for the Blind, and Pancreatic Cancer Network. When I, learned of that, I thought I
Project.
want to be a part of this and help support
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
But that's frankly how I got involved. And I think a lot of us meet each other through these convention networks, and you build partnerships. You build friendships first, and then those friendships become partnerships, and that's how you do it.
And it is like an interview process. It really is like that. It's
Yeah.
not like,
Yes.
hey, that guy's cool. Let's bring him on. You get to know the person. You have to interview him, fill him out. You ask your other staff, like, what do you think of that guy? And that's it.
And now
I
you
do
also
want to
you
go.
mentioned, Paul, that you have the word diversity in your title. Definitely. Can you tell us what that looks like in a convention setting and specifically Trek Long Island? Trek Long Island.
Well, yeah, no, to answer your question, let me take a step back. We have to acknowledge that right now, in the world that we are in, there is a national divide about diversity. It is a controversial um, uh, topic that causes divide, but it's very important in terms of inclusion and making everybody feel like they're welcome and a sense of belonging. So, in terms of diversity and inclusion, Trek Long Island, we decided to go all in. The reality is that companies are making decisions right now about how far they're going to go in terms of diversity and inclusion. And for us, it was that we want to go full blown. And what that means for Trek Long Island is from beginning to end, we have a full diversity programming package outlined, or if you want to call it unscheduling. So we start Friday night with actually a drag story hour with Bodacious from the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, which the fact that we're going to tackle a drag story hour, which in some parts of the country folks won't even allow. We open up right out of the gate with that.
And I'd
That
be
same
thrilled to
night,
see people go there and try to fight that because, hey, that's great publicity. Thanks.
yes, absolutely. Then later that same night, Matt Jennings is going to premiere his 1701 Blurred story with exclusive content and behind the scenes footage, which will continue, which is a story for those who are not aware. It's a fan based film starring Matt
Really
Jennings
great.
about a young queer man trying to find love in the Star Trek world as a queer male. And so he's going to be there for the premiere and uh, talk about the exclusive content that we'll do. Then on Saturday, we're going to have three panels focused on diversity and inclusion issues. And you can't just do one panel. You have to have a few dynamic different panels that tackle different parts of it. So the first one will be about fluidity of gender and identity, which will have panel members from across the spectrum, everybody from, lesbian, pansexual, gay, cisgender male, transgender. We're trying to have a representative panel to talk about the issues in terms of gender and identity. Then we're going to have another panel, which will be allyship and families. A lot of times diversity program talks about allyship, but I don't feel that they talk about it enough, and talk about the importance of allyship and and how much of an impact allyship has for making people feel that they can be their authentic selves, as well as achieving progress in the world. The members of the community couldn't do without their ally friends and family. And so that's what that panel will be about. Then we're going to have one about representation in media, which two of the actors will be on the panel as well. And they're going to talk about starting from way back, I believe like 50s, 60s to like Wilson Cruz in My So-Called Life, through the
Yes.
90s with Ellen, all the way
Which is our
through up to,
generation. That is
yes, to today about
cornerstone for us our age.
yeah, about representation. And then Saturday night, of course, we're having hosted by the To Proudly Go.
Never
is
heard of
gonna
them.
Yes.
Who are they?
And I have
Yeah,
to
right.
say
Who are they?
earlier, I have to I have to follow up. You mentioned, of course, Heather Wood, but also Godiva Romance and Jackson Juniper are going to
Oh,
be performing.
Yay.
They are
Nice.
listed on the website. So
yes.
Heather will start with the fashion show from 7 to 8, and then the full performance will be from To Proudly Go will be from 8 to 9:30.
A
But
fashion show.
yes, yes.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Damien, don't try,
My
don't try
question
to
is, what
get.
is that? Like it's not
Well,
obvious.
You
you
have
have
to,
to
Instead of
come. You
doing
have to
you have
like
to
come, and you
wait
have
and
to.
see.
instead of doing a cosplay contest, we like to do something where people could show off what they do. I feel like a
Yes.
contest is so like it becomes so tense. We want people to get up,
Yeah.
just be proud of what they're wearing, what they did, what they made. Who cares who's better than who?
I kind
Everybody.
of love that because I'll tell you what, every time there's a cosplay contest, like my favorite never wins. I'm just gonna
Oh,
say
yeah.
that.
Well, I will say because we've talked about this already. Is we're gonna have it. Where folks can, as Stephanie say, show off their display, but it's gonna be very positive. We all know, like RuPaul, for example, the drag show. It can be shade can be thrown back and forth, but this is going to be all positive, so that everybody feels good. And so it's a very positive based fashion show. So we want to focus on that. And then, of course, like I said, they're going to have their regular performance from 8 to 9:30. Then we have the Starship Fabulous Party, which begins at 9:30 with John Billingsley, who self-identifies as a gay icon now, ironically, because all of us love John. And what it's going to be is from 9:30 to 10:15, the Star Trek family with Mark Sickle. They're going to host So You Think You Know Phlox, which is a trivia game show about his character, and see how much the audience can. It's definitely an interactive play with the audience. And then when that's over, right after John finishes, we're going to have an actual DJ dance club from 10:30 till midnight plus, I'll say.
Midnight
And
Plus.
Wow, y'all are packing
yes,
it
Fun.
And well, that
Yeah.
isn't
yes,
even all of
and then
it.
we
How
end.
about during the same time as that, before that, we're having a cocktail party with the stars. So everybody can go to the cocktail party. We're gonna have Lawrence Neal singing as Vic Fontaine, as
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
lounging kind of, nice chill ambiance. So something's going on at all times. Um,
Because it's
mhm.
good. I was just going to say, because it's all about what we're trying to do is create for everybody who comes an experience. You mentioned, Damien, at the top of the out. Why do people go to conventions, and why do they want to come and join? It's friendships, but friendship. Being with your friends and being able to experience and doing things. So we wanted to make sure that all throughout the convention, people are actually engaging and having opportunities to have fun, have joy, and be with one another in celebration.
We also try to keep the prices low.
Oh, we
So,
love
like,
that.
for
Hmm.
example, the Starship Fabulous Party and the John Billingsley event together is only $25. And we want everybody to have the
Wow.
ability to afford things like this. You have so many conventions that are charging you astronomical fees to do things.
Yeah.
And it's just greed, really. Yeah, I have to pay for a hotel. Yeah, I need all this stuff, but I don't want to punish people for not having the money to do something. That's not fair. The only thing I charge for is the cocktail party, $70, but that pays for the food at the thing, and that. But that's probably the highest. Even our weekend pass is only $70. I just don't.
And $70
It's not
for
that
a
bad.
night in New York City, that can be your bar tab.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
One human.
Well,
really
and I want to
Exactly.
mention too, I want to mention too that we have, we mentioned some of the drag queens that are with us, but also from the DC area, we have Demanda Martini
Yes.
coming, as well as Logan Stone that regularly perform between DC and Maryland.
And what is
So
Logan Stone doing?
the auction on Sunday. So
Amazing.
Logan will be our auctioneer. So we'll have a big drag queen hosting the auction as well on Sunday.
We have an
So
art show too. That we're going to be auctioning off, or actually, it's going to be. I'm pretty sure what we're going to do is he's going to have all the art out, and people are going to bid on the art that's out, and half the money made is going to go to, or percent. I don't know how the percentage is. Certain percentage is going to the artist, and another percentage going to Library for the Kind.
That's amazing.
So it's interesting. I feel like Mike and I and Lanita had sort of two different kind of con experiences last year where, in April, Mike and I in Philly, we stayed at the host hotel and we did, we lived at the experience around the clock. And then Trek New Jersey felt like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike, but like it felt like a commuter con, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
like pretty much everybody did what we did. We, took the bus in for the day and then took the bus back to the city to sleep at home. And what I'm gleaning from what you're saying is that we want to stay at the host hotel.
You want to stay at the hotel. You do.
and invest in the weekend
Yes,
long
yes.
experience.
It's like, okay, so I was at the Jersey Con. It's a totally different kind of thing. The
Mhm.
Jersey Convention has its like activities, has the signing, has the main stage. We have like 4 panel rooms, the main stage, 4 panel
See,
rooms. We have full children's programming that's separate. We
Mm.
have our autograph room is separate. Where we have a vendor room with all the stars in the back. It's all separate. It's not all one room. So it looks so different than what you saw there. So
well, and that was a
Nice.
challenge I think that we had. There were some of these smaller panels.
mhm.
Our friendly Ellen was on one of them, which is a super interesting panel, but that was not a conversation that was really built to fill a massive auditorium. That some
Correct.
of these are
It was the
smaller.
niche conversation
Yeah.
that someone, if they had their druthers and they weren't necessarily interested in it, would have been like, oh, I'm gonna go to something else. But because it was on the main stage, it's like, oh,
So it was only one
yeah,
stage.
You're stuck.
okay. And
Yeah, we
hey,
have
listen,
well, if I
it was
could comment too,
Yeah.
I think to your point, there's certain conversations that almost feel more comfortable in the secondary panel room in a more
Sure.
smaller, intimate, almost a roundtable discussion on
mhm,
sometimes sensitive topics.
Yeah.
So, for example, during our con coming up, the 3 panels that I mentioned on Saturday, they are in the secondary panel room. And I think that's going to be good because it'll be more the intimate environment. Or the one that I haven't mentioned yet is on Sunday. We're going to have the Trectivism panel, which was started in New Jersey with John Billingsley as the lead, where a number of charities were on the stage and discussed their mission and impact. And then John went around the room and interviewed everybody in the audience basically. What are you doing? What charity are you helping with? What volunteering are you doing? And this year we decided for that panel, that's going to be on the main stage on Sunday because the thought was that in that particular instance, we want people to be aware of various
mhm,
charities, people's impact, also get more people involved. So that one's more of a where specifically you want to get the word out, you want to involve the whole con, whereas the other panels being in the secondary panel room, I think will provide a safe space for people to be open and have those frank and open discussions. So room logistics and atmosphere really does come into play when you're talking about people feeling safe and open. And I think those are 2 examples in our convention where we're putting them into the appropriate room for what the discussion is going to be.
So at the rooms are the 3 main rooms are like our podcast room. All of our main panels are run by podcasters. And in Panorum, I
Better.
know they're crazy, those people, but we're letting them in, you know? But the Panorum Panel B is basically we say is we get a whole bunch of podcasters. We say, "What do you want to talk about?" And we give them time to talk,
And
and we might still have room. So you probably should call. Um, um, and also Panel Room C is where we have DEI, but we also mix it with science. Science is a huge part of
Mm.
that too. So we have a lot of different forms of scientists. Last year we had a scientist who studied bugs because everything's awesome to learn about. Why should it only be space? It should be everything. We should be learning everything. And then our last panoramas are fan
of
panoramas.
course, don't tell me there weren't scientists to study bugs on the Enterprise.
I know, right?
Oh,
There had
right.
to be because there are bugs everywhere.
Well,
Entomology is a
Right.
science that travels.
Yes.
this
Yes.
year, our science director isn't on the line, but this year I definitely want to say I know we have confirmed one person who's a marine biologist out of New York, so it brings that marine
Animals.
perspective, and another person is an infectious disease specialist from
I-
DC. So I think it's
Big.
nice to bring some diversity to the science conversation. We always have like the folks from the space sector, but I think to bring these other disciplines in opens the aperture to a wider conversation about the science realm, which, of course, for young folks who are attending the convention, listening to these people, this could be their inspiration for what they want to do in the future. They are seeing themselves potentially on that stage 20 years from now, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, and it's interesting because I feel like we always hear these stories about people who were inspired to become space engineers and astronauts and stuff by Star Trek. But it is that I somehow I don't know that that's the only thing that people are inspired to do. Like
Absolutely not.
there's other scientists that we see in Star Trek. There's other ways. There's other inspirations to glean from this thing
Keiko
that we
is
all love.
growing all them plants, you know?
Right.
Hmm.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that set Star Trek aside from apart from other science fiction in the 60s especially is that Roddenberry wanted it to be rooted in real science. And I think that some of the best, even though we take real science and then kind of explode it, like, you know, the mycelial network, which is, you know, a real thing. You know what I mean? Like we kind of push that to its limits of what it could possibly mean. But yeah, the fact that Star Trek and science, like, you know, bosom buddies.
Hmm. Listen, Mike Jones, it's just not there yet. We haven't figured out
Right.
how to harness that power so that we can.
The magic mushrooms, yeah.
The
Mhm.
magic mushrooms, right.
See, I love Panel Room D because that's where I get the people who've never been on panels and they want to try
Mm.
it. They want to see what it's like. So we'll get these new people who want to talk about something. I'm like, just sit in a room, talk about it. I had a
Okay.
couple of girls a couple of years ago. I just loved them. They did a panel about their autism and their interests, and they were just phenomenal. They've never gotten up and spoke like that, and it was just a great experience for people.
It's
That's
terrific.
awesome.
And you know
Another
what?
thing, sort of full disclosure, we did listen to you on our friend Sean Ferrick's podcast recently.
I like Sean.
Also, by the way, I knew that I loved you when he asked you a question about the news and you said, I wasn't listening. I was like, I literally died and I was like, I love her.
Yes.
But you and I said that and I forgot my question. Oh yes, that you said that
I was
you
gonna jump
have
in.
that you released the schedule well
We're
in
we're
advance.
starting to release it. So we
And
got the schedule. We're so close to done. Then we had the cancellations. So
Wow.
well,
Yeah.
listen, I love though that that is your intention because correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like some of these cons withhold their schedule for as long as possible because they want people to buy tickets. They don't want people to do like cafeteria purchasing
uh,
day by day, and so they just want to keep it mysterious.
no,
And
yeah, no. I want a
I
plan.
reacted to that when I heard that that your plan was so
Uh-huh.
transparent.
We
Yeah.
have people that
Yeah.
need to plan coming to our convention, and I need to plan, so I get it. So I'm trying. I'm really aiming to have it by May 1st. I'm aiming me earlier, maybe even earlier, because we have it done, but we wanna. I'd like to bring another person in to replace the people we lost. I can't
I
promise we
understand.
can, but we are trying. So really, we're gonna see if we're gonna do that. But I'm trying to get it out to everyone, at least most of it. I'll try to get out maybe everything we know is not moving around, so you got an idea. But the big parties that
Mhm.
we can say, it's just all the other stuff.
Yeah,
Trying.
and in terms of the diversity program, I think I pretty much revealed most of the schedule from Friday through Sunday for us.
Now you can't change it,
And
huh?
yeah, oh, can't change it now, no. But one thing I was going to say was, yeah, no, as an attendee, all of us are attendees ourselves of convention, so we heavily have that on our mind. We got to get the schedule out. We got to get the schedule out. But it's also working around most of our guests, even the professional technical folks, they are very busy themselves. And what I'm trying to say is to pin down the details of the schedule. Sometimes it takes us a couple weeks to hash all that out between us volunteering, their busy schedules. But we're fortunate, like Stephanie said, we have it almost hashed out and narrowed up, so we should be able to get it out soon.
Hopefully. I want to see it.
Oh, one thing you didn't talk about, Stephanie, was the gaming component of
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, we're
the
still working
convention.
on that. So there's going to be a
Doing
gaming
Gabo?
component. We're working on that, but there will be. So if anybody that went to the convention last year remembers where we had all of our autograph people, they're not going to be there. All the celebrities are going to be somewhere else. And that whole room's be gaming and other stuff. I want other things going on. Because it's a nice big room that we can just do some awesome things in. So that's where the parties will be. We're gonna have a special author event there, and I don't know what else. I'll make it up as I go, but
Love it.
I really am good at making things up as I go. I'm
Are
awesome.
you in the same space every year? Is it like a
Yes, I'd
oh,
love to expand, but I guess this year has actually been a challenge because of people not wanting to fly, not people not wanting to come from other countries. It's been a huge challenge. So I was hoping to get into a bigger location in the next couple of years. I don't know if that'll happen because of all this, but let's hope, right now. But this is a
yeah.
great location, so there's no complaints. It's a good location.
I have sort of a basic question.
Mhm.
What I, you know, what possessed you to start your own con? Really, it just
God.
seems like such an extraordinary mountain to climb. Like,
Well,
how long did it sort of gestate?
well,
Like,
I
what
wanted
was
to
your
be
journey to
Armin
fame?
Shimmerman. I figured the only way to do it is just it worked. um, I don't know. I love seeing people happy. I know it sounds so nerdy, and you're gonna be like,
No, it does
I
not.
love it. Like I said, I'm a children's librarian. I love when the kids come running in. I love the joy, and it's the same thing with the Trekkies. Look at them. I don't, I don't, of course I love my celebrities and everything, but I love seeing people. I love people so much. And I could just sit in the chair and just watch people and just bonding and smiling and meeting their heroes and in their cosplay being these amazing creatures I just love it. I love it so much, and that's why I do it. And I'm broke, yes, but that's why I'm broke. Who needs money when you're happy, right?
I love it. I love it. So,
Let me
Well, I
rewind
think
though. But I never told you about Library for the Kind. The
oh
Please.
whole
yes, please,
whole
Yeah.
please, please, please.
reason. So Library for the Kind was an organization I started during 2020. I hate saying pandemic. During 2020. I created it actually just out of just posting books online, children's books online that focused on tragedy, depression, anxiety, anything children would be suffering with at the time. It grew more and more as time went on, and people asked me like, "Oh, they started asking me questions. Are there books on this? Are there books on that?" So I created Library for the Kind, and I created a Facebook page, and it grew more and more. Now I have somebody's contacted me from this huge organization called Storytime Solidarity. And now I'm on their website. So it has grown from just promoting books to like and the books are the books that I focus on are kind of like where children would be mistreated. Let's just say that. Like
Mm,
any child that has a difference about them, any sort of difference, whether that they're mistreated because their gender, they're mistreated because of a difference in their abilities, a difference in their culture. I even have books on children missing limbs. And it's just to bring understanding, not only for the child reading the books, but for
mm,
people to learn a little bit about these children, about people in general, that everybody's the same. Everybody deserves love. Everybody is just
mhm.
awesome. Um, So that's what Library for the Kind is, and I want to expand it. I want to I want to create book nooks all over the United States at places like DMVs, at
Oh,
like anywhere with a boring, boring waiting room. Think of the most
yeah.
boring places in the world. But pretending you're a child right now and your parents bring you somewhere and you're in the waiting room and you just want to jump out the window. I want to put a book nook there, and I want to just fill it with books that are, Pete the Cat, the fun stuff, but also diversity. I want children to pick up Pete the Cat, and then also pick up a book about a child who's celebrating Eid. It's that's what we need. That's what we need to see. It just needs to be normal. It shouldn't. It just needs to be a normal thing, and that's where you build empathy in children, and then young adults, and then adults. And that's why we
Absolutely.
do
Much
what we do.
empathy. So much of it really, so much of our current world problems come trace back to that one idea of empathy, and that
Yes.
it feels like that is what is missing in so much of
Yeah.
our discourse.
If
And
you build empathy, it's amazing. It's all you need.
well, and that's
Understand.
really what diversity is too.
Yeah.
It is learning to look at somebody who is as much the opposite from you as they can be, and learning
Yeah.
to put yourself in their shoes and
Yeah.
imagine what their life is like.
There's
And
Yeah.
a book that
Which
I
you, which
recently
you,
got. It's called I See Color. And I love that book because too many people are like, oh, no, no, I don't see color. No, you see color. It's beautiful.
it's the Stephen
Why are
Colbert
we
joke. It's
seeing
the
this way?
like, I don't see color, and like
It's
showing how
horrible.
actually racist that really is.
That's horrible. You need to
Right.
see it. You need to see differences. You need to love it, embrace it. And that's what we do. And that's what I want to do.
and which is allyship. When we talk about that,
Hmm.
what you were just talking about, learning about what another's experiences as opposed to just your own, that's allyship.
Mhm.
And the other piece is specific to the charity with the books is, your theme is seeing yourselves in a book. That's Stephanie's charity's theme. And I just think back as a child growing up in the 80s and 90s as a gay male, living closeted for a very long time, is I would have loved to have a book where I could see myself in the book. And even in those days, it was just the beginning of the internet. I remember in college, chat rooms started, but it wasn't like today where you could see yourself online in other places. And That exists today, and we want to make sure that the books folks can see themselves in those books. And that's
Yeah.
a great perspective in terms of the library.
Well, and it's
It's
it's interesting that you say that too about well, about growing up in the 80s and 90s. For one thing, is that I don't think it was until we started doing this that I realized how many queer people were into Star Trek. I
yeah.
did not feel like, and my gay male life as a New Yorker um does not feel that way.
Right.
And so it was only sort of in like making these
But
connections that I
there's so
realized, like,
many of us.
you guys are so queer.
Yes.
I just came off the cruise, and which was a wonderful experience in itself, but the queer community on the cruise continues to grow every year. And the social meetup that we had every night at 5 o'clock, 5:30 ish. Earlier years on the cruise, it was, it's hit or miss, semi-crowded, depend upon the night. This year, it was packed every night, and I think
Mm.
the community and the sense of especially this particular year with a lot going on, I think everybody needed that sense of community. But to your point is, my friendships have grown in the queer community in the Star Trek world because of how we all realized later how much we all looked up to Star Trek as being, the example of what could be, or we could be
Mm.
included. Frankly, I became a Star Trek fan because, I saw TNG where people were treated with respect and they didn't see differences. And the themes and the story writings, especially when Deep Space Nine and the conflict between different races and communities was highlighted, and like, why is this happening, why is this occurring? And of course, in the current times with the Discovery casting and what you are able to see with Anthony Rapp and Wilson Cruz, with Dr. Colbor and Stamets, and I think it just blossomed for as examples for folks today. but yeah, there's so many of us, and the friendships I think that we're all developing are lasting long term, ironically from this franchise. And going back to why do people go to these conventions over and over again, I think it's that component of it. It's the
Yeah.
friendships that are made and continuing that. um, I don't want to say tradition because that's not the right word. It's really, that's the 3 times a year you get together with a group of people that you could be 100% yourself. You could be queer, you could be the Trekkie, you could be the nerd, all in
Could be
one,
the Gorn.
all in one.
Could be the
Yes.
Gorn.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny.
There's
All of our friend Heather Wood came on our podcast at some point last year and had a terrific theory that I will leave her to explain sometime, but that all Trekkies are on some level queer, and that it comes from seeing the world in a different way.
I
And
love that.
she said that, and I was like, you know what? I'm not letting that go.
I'm
Yeah.
holding on to that.
It's no surprise that the queer community or individuals would be attracted to a property that embraces infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I mean, it's built into the DNA of Star Trek. And something that Will Wheaton said that, and I didn't think about it till he said it. Growing up, I looked at Star Trek as an inevitable future, like we will evolve to this, there'll be uh no hunger, no crime, people will get along, like we will get to that. But as in 2025, it's feeling difficult and we won't get to that unless we fight for it. And part of us gathering as we do, whether it's at a Star Trek convention or a Pride March, has to do with that fighting for it, in my opinion.
Well, and I
Well,
think
you know, it's
also
interesting.
things are
Oh,
designed to
everybody.
make us feel hopeless right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But
So
here's
if
the
I
thing. I just listened to I just listened to y'all's episode that I was not on with uh Paul Attico. Is that his last name?
Derek Tyler Attico.
Derek
Yes.
Yes.
Tyler Attico.
We're very proud
Um,
of that episode that we did without you, Lanita.
It was great. I know it was great. I mean, I could
Derek
have
Tyler
added some more
Attico
to
wrote
it.
the autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, and he
He's
has
the
a
best.
YouTube channel
Brilliant.
with the Sci-Fi Sisters.
And, like I was like, oh, what do I walked to the train? I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to us. This is not an episode that my voice is in. I will listen. And he said something which relates to this: is that the world had to fall apart in order for us to get to what we all see in Star Trek as the future. So
Right.
and for some reason, hearing it this morning, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it made me, I'm not okay. Like, let's be clear. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fucking shit show. Librarian, I'm sorry. I curse. This is a fucking shit show.
Well, golly,
And
Nate.
Well,
be
you
like,
know,
be like the biscuits. And it's like, I'm waiting for, it's like, okay, maybe that's where we are. Like, just, I don't like the feeling, but maybe that's where we are. Maybe this is what had to happen for
This is our
everything
Bell
to like,
Riots. This is it.
ooh, it is.
Right.
And
We're
then
in Q's
someone's
courtroom in Encounter in Farpoint right now.
right now. It's like, it's happening. And so on the other side, I feel like, okay, maybe we can push through because we are seeing in real time with all of the internet and the technology, we are seeing how everything is about to implode. And then maybe we will all realize that together as one, we can build what we want. And it's going to be the Trekkies who be like, look, y'all, see this example right here. It's been here. The playbook is here. Let's go for it. So
Now, Lanita, the source of that nugget of wisdom, Derek Tyler Attico. You know where you can meet him.
yeah,
A
at Trek Long
Long
Island.
I love
It was a full circle situation.
Love
I
him.
was like,
He's a
so could
great
Yes.
so
person.
could I follow up,
Paul. Mhm.
Mike?
oh yeah,
Mike, yeah, can I follow up, Mike? You mentioned about the parade, and that's a perfect lead in. Stephanie, I'm going to talk about Capital Pride Alliance. So one thing I mentioned to Stephanie, I said, hey, do you realize that the day our convention ends is actually the first day of Capital Pride down in DC, as well as the World Pride here in the United States in DC. And I said, let me reach out to them and see how we could partner. And one of the things that a lot of fans enjoy are challenge coins. So for this year for Trek Long Island, we were able to get a license from Capital Pride for our challenge coin, where it has the World Pride on one side and then Trek Long Island on the other, along with Library for the Kind. So the proceeds of the sale of the coin will go to both Capital Pride Alliance and Library for the Kind. And this is important because, in terms of, we're not just talking about diversity at Trek Long Island and, you know, uh, building the events there and in that location. We thought, well, how can we support this in a more broader way? And the way to do that was to, financially support Capital Pride along with the library. And so through the sale of the coin, that'll help, fund them as well, which is really helping to support the event down here. And most importantly, raise funding for Library for the Kind. So it's really kind of that uh, connection or tie to that greater, and the fact that several of our attendees, as well as a lot of the staff and crew who are part of Trek Long Island, literally are leaving Trek Long Island, going down Monday or Tuesday to down to World Pride, and are going to be part of the activities down there, both the parade and the festival. And so we wanted the celebration to continue at World Pride and not just end. So that was why we pursued that partnership this year. And so for folks who are interested, we're actually pre-selling the coin. It's on the Facebook Trek Long Island page on a post. There's a link in an email there on how to pre-order it, because I have a feeling we're going to sell out.
Yeah.
But it definitely brings us to, Mike, to your point about walking in parades, the larger effort of advocacy, and we have a direct connection with that this year.
That's really great. I definitely want one of those challenge coins. Uh, can I ask a really logistical, nerdy question?
Nerdy.
So,
Production nerds. We're all production nerds.
What?
so I don't know. I mean, I come from a nonprofit theater background, so I don't know much about these kinds of shows. I mean, really, a convention is a show, but I know that the proceeds for some things like the challenge coin and I think some of the after party events, like those proceeds are specifically going to charities. Is Trek Long Island itself a nonprofit? Like, how is it organized? Can you explain it a little
Trek
bit?
Long Island is not a nonprofit. Library for the Kind is. So Trek
Yeah,
Long Island, a nonprofit organization isn't allowed to raise money for other nonprofit organizations.
got it. Hmm.
So Trek Long Island is a for-profit organization that just loves to donate and help. So
Nice.
that's what we do. And this year we're focusing on my nonprofit, because all these years I didn't focus on my own, because I'm like, it's my own. I don't want to do that. And then I'm like, I guess I should, So in the
Absolutely.
past, the first year, like I said, we donated about $1,000 to the Lavelle School for the Blind.
Awesome.
And I think 500 to the Trevor Project. I don't remember
Mhm.
exactly. Last year we donated about $1,000 to the Pancreatic Network,
Mm.
and also I want to say about 500 to Trevor. I don't remember how much. I'm terrible. And then the with Pop Culture Hero Coalition, how that worked was a little
Mm.
bit different. They had their own show and they raised money at the show and
Oh,
put the money there. So that's kind of how we do it. I kind of want to give people a space. A lot of people, the Ghostbusters
yeah.
group shows up and they were raising money for something. I just want to see people, what I say to people right now, with the world the way it is, as delightful as it is, any little thing you can do,
Yeah.
anything. Everybody's like, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Anything. One little
Yeah.
thing.
A thing that has struck me as really interesting among all of these charity groups that are related to the Trek fan world
Mhm.
is that there doesn't seem to be competition for resources. It seems
Mm.
that everybody is kind of supports one another and promotes charities that are not their own. And um, do
Yeah.
you encounter competitiveness in this
No,
world?
no, I don't, because I'm not competitive. I just want everybody to be happy. I'm just not a competitive person. Um, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
There's so many people. I mean, there's so many people in the world. There's no reason to be competitive. I don't understand that nature.
Well,
I don't.
and it's
Me
funny
either.
because that is the thing that we have encountered in podcasting is that everyone who we know who is on a podcast that is not ours
Mhm.
has only been lovely and generous. And, the Sci-Fi Sisters have been generous
Oh,
with their time
Oh, they're
appearing
so
on
great.
ours. We have friends at BQN, Crusher Convo, Reskeeps
yeah.
everything. A lot of things that we post, and it just is a real, there's a
Nice.
lot of,
We're actually getting together with a bunch of the other showrunners in April or this month just to talk.
oh, that's
Shore
really fun.
Leave, Farpoint, Elihu, another horror convention on Long Island called Lich. We're all going to get together and talk and have a Zoom call and say, okay, what are we doing? How can we help each other? What can we do so we don't overlap? So we don't pick the
Yeah.
same guests because we want to all succeed. Was that I don't understand like why everybody can't just do that. Long Island alone has enough people to fill my convention. Why do I need to, be competitive?
Yeah, yeah, really. And also like and we're cheap and we're overscheduled and so we don't go to many, but it just because you go to one doesn't mean that you're not going to others,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
we also support one another at other shows. Awesome Con, for example, which is upcoming this weekend. We're going to be there, Stephanie, with your fellow Doctor Who convention in Long Island. But the other Trek conventions will be there as well. We
Yeah.
support one another when we're out there because we all need each other in terms of in this community.
Mm.
I
Like Shore Leave often has a table at other conventions. We love them.
I love them.
Um, yeah,
They're so nice. I love them all. Ing,
exactly.
she's going to be one of our scientists on the panels.
Awesome.
I love that.
So yeah, it's not, I competitive people don't do that well in this. You have to
Yeah,
work together.
Yeah,
You have to
yeah.
work together.
yeah.
I sort of a weird question is I notoriously, for those of us who, sort of find these spaces our opportunity to be our most authentic selves and live our nerd dreams. And when it's over, there's a real come down. There's a real like my experience has always been like it's hard to go back to work. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, like I'm back in the office with the normies. Real life has set in. Now,
Wear
with
your
the kind of
Starfleet uniform and who cares? That's all I got to say.
well, my question is the amount of work that you all put into these is unfathomable to me. It's just it's amazing. Is your experience of the post-con at all? So do you experience like what is your life like Monday after it's
Mm,
over?
Um, I sleep a lot. Uh,
You're like, thank
yeah.
God. I survived.
it's more like shock. Okay, so for
Do you
us,
take off from the library? Is the real question?
I don't. Well, actually, no, this year I am. I have a few days off. I took
Oh,
off.
good.
Oh,
Okay, okay,
good.
okay, good.
But it's a little different because we're not done when the convention's over. We're still doing things.
Sure.
So we got a
Mhm.
little time. When that's all done, I give myself a month and then I plan the next one.
Okay.
That's it.
Nice.
Wow.
That's great.
I, but I
Well,
understand I understand your question because I've experienced it as being involved in conventions as well as attending. I know what you're talking about. I call that the back to reality, which is scary.
yeah.
Because when we talked about earlier about how when you go to these things, you don't have to be in a box at times. And when you go back home or back to the work or wherever that may be, when you have to almost put boundaries around yourself again,
Yeah.
that's when the psychological support is needed often. And that's what's good about you all, about podcasters and about the online fan communities, is so that when folks do go home, they don't experience a huge drop emotionally. They can continue that online with their friends. You start to develop those regional friendships where you can get together and have. I know that there's viewing parties. Example, To Proudly Go often
Oh yeah.
holds those, where you can get together and you continue it outside of the convention time. But typically I would say most of the attendees at Trek Long Island attend other cons, and if you look at one quarterly, I think they're getting together quarterly at some other form. But I know exactly what you mean. Now this year in particular for us, coming right off of Trek Long Island, a lot of our attendees, and you know, and this is across the board, are going to be jumping into Pride events. So you got the, you know, leave Sunday, get involved on Monday for the month
You
of
got a
June.
full
Nice.
month before you come down.
Well, and I'm fairly certain that we'll
Oh,
end
for
up
New
right
York.
here
Yeah, for
talking
New
about our
York.
adventures when it's over. And,
Yeah.
you know, please join us if you can, because I'm sure your adventures will be worth talking about.
Well, you guys have been so generous with your time. We're coming up on the hour, and I don't want to take up too much, but there are questions that we.
Yes. It is. I'm sorry to do this, but there's a little bit
No,
of
no,
teasing that
no,
we
there's
do if
we can
if you're on for the first
apologize.
time.
This
I love it.
this happened.
I went to my master's degree for questions.
Yeah. Well, and Mike, we may have to take turns who goes first because it's really
I know.
unfair if one of them gets a moment to think about it and the other does not. So.
No, they have to say it at the same time, and
Oh my
then
God.
if we don't hear them,
We
it's
can't
like
talk over each other. This
course.
is an
they
audio
say it at the
format.
same time, yeah, and then it's like, what did you say?
Totally
What did you
gonna win because
getting our
Paul thinks
backstage
first. I
arguments.
don't.
You're not going to do Trek trivia, though, are you?
No, this is not a
No,
test.
no.
This is not a test.
Don't
This
do
is
that.
all. These
No.
are say or opinion questions.
They are. No, wait, hold on a second, Mike Jones. Really quick
Yeah.
question. Because even though I'd literally just listened to us, I still is the meet cute part of our rapid fire just because I was gonna ask Stephanie how she got hooked up with Star Trek in general. I was gonna ask it, but then Paul went into his. I was like, oh, we know how Paul got there, but we don't know how Stephanie got there. And I couldn't remember if it was part of our
Probably our
question.
first question then.
I feel like it
depends.
is.
Yeah,
It
the
depends
list.
on Mike.
I pick and choose which questions I ask of our
Mhm.
list. So yeah, so we'll start with that. Stephanie, we call it the Star Trek meet cute. Where did you meet Star Trek in your life?
I have no darn clue, to be honest. I think it just melded into my brain one day. It just slowly happened. And I was like, oh, what is this? And it was there. You know, I have no idea. I
Wait, do
can't,
you remember a time before Star Trek in your life?
I don't. I
Yeah.
don't remember
I
anything.
love that.
That's great.
I don't know. I could lie. Like, oh yes, when I was
No.
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 Mm-mm.
It's great
And-
when you just like innately know like character names and it's like have I watched this show, but I know it, you know?
I know this past life. It was a past life. That's when I got to like it.
Okay.
Can I
love
say
it.
Okay,
one
okay.
detail real quick?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
This also relates to New York because when I think I was 11, September 27th or 28th, 1987, I was a little kid then, and my mother said, let's put this show on. You might like it. Star Trek Next Gen was premiering, Encounter at Farpoint on WPIX 11 out of New York because I lived out of Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. And that was the beginning. And I remind her to this day when she'll say, "You're so involved in all that," and I'll say, "Well, you were the one who made me watch the show originally when I was 11."
You
So,
did this
Wait,
to
and I
me,
have,
Mom.
I have,
You did
I,
this to me.
Can I just
and I
clarify?
have
Awesome.
that date tattooed on my back. So,
It
Aw.
sounds like you're
Oh,
saying you
wow.
watched Encounter at Farpoint in its first run.
I did
Yeah.
live
I love
on
that.
Wow.
Channel
I mean,
11.
same, but
Yes.
Oh wow.
excellent.
Okay, go ahead, Mike Jones. I commandeered it. It's what I
So
do.
this next question isn't so much rapid fire because I think it requires a little thought. So we'll take turns, but whoever's ready first can answer. So if you could have dinner with three characters, not the actors, who would they be and why?
Jadzia Dax, because he's freaking awesome. I would have dinner with Janeway because she drinks a lot of coffee and so do I. And with I guess Arm and Quark, you know, he's cool. I could hang out with him.
Nice.
For me, I'd want to have dinner with Q to find out what the next chapter is after the end of Picard season 3. Picard because
That is a
Patrick
sneaky
Stewart.
way to bring legacy back, by the way, which
Right?
much
I know.
respect, sir.
Uh-huh.
Much respect.
Exactly. I want it. Yes, I want Captain Seven. And then Jean-Luc Picard because, like I said, when I was 11, he was a role model as a young kid looking up to him. But really, Benjamin Sisko from
Oh.
Deep Space Nine,
Oh yeah.
because
cooked a nice
watching
dinner for
him
you.
he was a single dad raising his son, and I grew up as with a single parent household, and so I really liked Benjamin Sisko. And you know, I know Avery Brooks isn't involved anymore, but I would really have loved to see where Cisco would go from where it left off at the end of Deep Space
Yeah.
Nine, which is a whole other conversation. But it would be Q, Picard, and Cisco for me.
Nice. I think that the food would be better at yours.
Yeah, the food.
I,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like Quark would end up bringing some tube grubs or something that I don't
Grubs,
want to.
heck yeah, tube grubs. I like when they're just a little crispy.
Depends on how they're seasoned.
Crispy.
Mine would be
Okay.
more drinks. I think mine would be
More
more
drinks.
We'd be holding wine glasses at my dinner.
Be the
Sour
Rackachinos.
meat.
I'm like, yeah, give me a Rackachino, Clark. You guys would be discussing like all these nice things that we'd just be like partying.
All right. If you lived in the 23rd or 24th century, what would your life be like? Would you be on Starfleet? Would you live on Earth?
I'd be a captain. I'd have my own ship and I'd take over the world.
Hell yeah.
I think I'd like to be number one. I'd like to be a Riker.
Nice.
Well, can you be my number one? You could be my Riker.
Ugh,
And he would be my Riker. I'm pointing to him. I don't know if that makes sense
Perfect.
to you. I don't know who I'm pointing to.
I love it.
Yeah. I enjoy making things happen, and I feel like
Mhm.
Riker was what he made happen what Picard wanted.
right. That's a great definition of a first
And I
officer.
like being in charge. And you're very good at keeping me from doing stupid things. So yeah, if you could please. I'd go on all the OA missions. No, you can't go.
What is your go-to holodeck program?
I think Vic's just chilling out, you know. Vic's.
I love Sticks
Yeah.
and Hill. I loved The Big Goodbye.
I did
Yeah.
too. That's good.
Yeah.
Um,
And especially when Gates chewing the gum. I don't know. Whenever I think of that episode, brilliant storyline, but I always go back to the scene where she's chewing the gum. Yeah.
I just got the Playmates action figure of her in that costume. That was just a gift. I'm slowly filling my spare room with 90s action figures. Okay. Crusher or Pulaski?
Crusher.
Crusher. That's a no-brainer for me.
No.
Every
Okay.
so often we get a
Every so
Pulaski.
often.
Right. Are you doing Klingon Tai Chi with Worf or Leotard Yoga with Beverly and Deanna?
Worf.
Oh, it's weird, but I would want to do Klingon Tai Chi with Dax. I'm gonna answer
Oh
it
yes.
different way.
Okay. Yes.
I love when
That's what
people
I thought-
change
I
the
actually thought-
question.
Yeah,
I thought you
no,
said-
it's always more interesting.
It is. They're like,
Well,
actually,
I didn't even
here's a better answer.
I was gonna go what you want to do with Worf or Dax.
Oh,
Oh.
play by the rules or you're gonna get in trouble.
I know.
There is no trouble here. Believe me.
Penalty box.
We're terrible at enforcing rules. Are you kidding?
Right. Okay. Tea, Earl Grey, hot, or coffee, black?
Wait, there's a
That's me
third
saying
choice,
coffee.
Mike. Third
There
choice,
is,
Mike.
there's
There's
a
a
third
third
option, which is
but no,
Raktajino.
Raktajino.
Oh, does Raccachino have alcohol in it? Because sometimes it does, and I don't drink alcohol. So that's the problem.
I don't think it does. I
think
think
it
it's
has
Klingon
to.
coffee,
So,
right?
like sometimes you look at the recipes, they put alcohol in it, but I don't know if that's just like because
Oh.
they're
Well,
doing
that's
that.
just people doing that. Listen,
doing that,
think that's
right?
just
Then I
people
probably
doing
have a
that.
Raccachino.
I think
Tea, Earl
Raktajino
Grey.
is like Cuban coffee.
Ooh, I like that then.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Tea or Earl Grey for me.
Ah,
Come on.
excellent. If you had a replicator sitting next to you right now, what would you order?
French fries.
Hmm.
But waffle fries. They have to be waffle fries because they dip the best.
Waffle fries. That's my sign
or
language for waffle
SpongeBob
fries.
macaroni and cheese. Oh my god, I love SpongeBob macaroni and
Is
cheese.
that it, Mike?
Yeah, that's it. Waffle
Gotta be-
fries.
yeah.
This is gonna
Paul?
seem so plain, but spaghetti and meat sauce. And I know Stephanie's laughing because I said I love Italian. I just
yeah.
a well-made spaghetti sauce with meat. It's just so delicious. But not marinara. Definitely has to have some spice and kick and
Nice.
yes.
See, I was afraid you were going to go full Tallinn and be glass of water, room temperature.
Then he'd be
Um,
fired.
I gave you the real answer. I didn't yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Who is your Star Trek bartender, Guinan or Quark?
Quark.
Oh,
Not even
Guinan.
not that.
Yeah.
Listen, here's this funny thing. Even in this little interaction, I know
Definitive.
Stephanie's answers before. I was like, oh, she's going for party. I was like, coffee, party, wharf. She's like, "Grrrs."
So it sounds like Stephanie would be on Deep Space Nine, which is really
I
weird.
would.
I might be on the
Absolutely.
Enterprise.
Stephanie,
I'm
this is
answering
not
all-
an official question, but just curiosity. How do you take your coffee?
I only put a tiny bit of something like non-dairy in it, just because to fool myself. Because I don't know why I want to drink it black, but I have to fool myself and put a little bit of
Don't
something.
fool yourself. You just got to go for it.
I know,
like
and
my
I
coffee
do
black.
No, I'm the same
sometimes.
as you. Like
I
with a
do
dropper, the
sometimes.
tiniest amount. Yeah.
Just a little bit. I just want to change the color. I don't know why it looks so nice and creamy and good, and that's why. But it's the same thing. It doesn't taste any different because I don't put enough in it for it to make a difference.
Oh. Are you Team
Paul?
Tasha?
Wait,
or
wait,
team...
wait. Did Paul answer
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Yes.
you're not going to like my answer.
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
not
I
about liking. There's
thought you
only
said
one
Guinan.
question.
I
There's
don't
only
drink
one question.
coffee though. I'm a Diet Pepsi. I'm that person who's the Diet Coke or Pepsi in the morning. So cold
Okay.
drinks, cold
Morning.
beverages. Morning.
mean-
she's saying morning because all the time. Yes.
No.
yes.
Right.
Soda in the morning, Paul. That's not good for you.
Iced coffee is is the way to go. Okay. Are you Team Tasha or Team Armis?
Oh wow. Tasha. I'll give it to Tasha. Yeah. Let her live.
Tasha.
Okay.
Boo!
Yeah.
We
I know.
there's a
Talk
whole
about
episode
dead
about
horse humor. This is a fight that we've been having on this
Hard
podcast.
one.
the
That's a
entire
hard.
time.
I'd really have to honestly. I have to watch that episode and then come back to that question because
No, it's okay. Listen, it's
feel-
what your gut says. This is just
Yeah.
this is going to be our on the hill question forever. And I will always be Team Armis and cheer the people who are with him and not the people who are
Well,
not with him.
this whole Tasha question when it comes up goes back to your earlier question about Crusher versus Pulaski, because
Mhm.
inevitably all the nerdy Trekkies, we start going into, okay, well, who actually had more deaths? And it's the
Mhm.
Crusher count versus the Pulaski count. And there's some Pulaski fans out there who actually say she saved more people, but
Right.
anyway,
She was the better
Yeah,
doctor.
Crusher didn't have
He
a
was
good
the-
first season medically speaking. Anyway.
Yeah.
No.
give her a break.
Exhibit A, Tasha.
Went there, but you can't talk about Tasha without inevitably going over to Crusher's
I
success rate.
love that.
That's true. That's true.
True.
Okay, favorite alien species?
Ferengi.
Yeah, you're DS9 all the way.
I am. I love the Ferengi culture. I know that sounds weird, and I love Quark's mother. Ishka.
Moogie.
I love her so much. And I love that she became so strong and brought the women out to fight and they put their clothes on. And I love that. Feminism on Ferenginar. I want that panel.
Oh yeah.
And the first, truly being honest, popped into my head was Klingon. And I think it's because Next Gen and Deep Space Nine delves so much into Klingon culture, Klingon tradition, Klingon history, and the war. I think we got, as a viewer, I think we've had so much exposure to the Klingon civilization, probably more
Mhm.
so than probably any of the other array, and partly in part because of the popularity of Worf and Michael Dorn, and that led to so many other related characters. But when you ask, which group, it just immediately came to mind. So
How do you feel
And
about
probably
chamomile tea Worf?
I'm sorry.
How do you feel about chamomile tea Worf?
Oh, I'm blank. What am I not? What am I not?
Like
In Star Trek Picard season 3, he sips chamomile tea, and he's a pacifist.
he's a
and
pacifist.
Oh, well, did he reference prune juice? Why he wasn't drinking prune juice?
Did he?
I don't think so.
So I would want to ask him, if I was standing there, how come you're not drinking prune juice?
A warrior's
Valid.
drink.
Valid.
The warrior strength. Yeah. How come? Oh, maybe that's why. If
Because
that's
he's
the
not a
warrior strength.
warrior.
Right.
Oh, right. Last question. Who's your captain?
Oh my God, that's a hard one because they're all so good, and it's like
It's a different answer for me every day.
that's the problem.
Mhm.
And I hate throwing in another franchise, but it's like saying, "Who's your doctor?" I don't know. It
Right.
just they're
Oh, I'm Matt Smith. Okay, sorry.
um
Well, you know what I would say? I would say, um, I'm going to answer. I'm going to break your rules again. I would say Picard for
Mm,
a mentor,
me too.
Cisco for leadership, and then I know everybody will say Picard is leadership too, but he was dealing with so much. And then I loved Michael Burnham and seeing her growth from season 1 to 5.
Mhm.
So I know I answered 3 instead of picking one,
But
but I think they're all so
No.
I
different.
agree. But I have to say Janeway because
Captain
I
Burnham.
just need the powerful lady. I just love that I used to listen to her, and I'm like, I want to be that powerful. That
Absolutely.
So what we're
Kate
really saying is
Mulgrew's.
we're saying all of them in different ways.
yeah, it's a hard
Yes.
question because they're all like, even Lower Deck, she's phenomenal, Freeman. She's great.
You
Yeah.
know, by
Well,
season 4, I was like, Freeman can be my captain. Yes.
well,
She's
Yeah.
fun. She's
there's folks already saying, even though we haven't seen her story yet, but Captain Seven, I've actually had people say
Yeah.
already now they love
Mhm.
Captain for just the short period that she did that part of 7 of 9. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and like what you said about Michael Burnham, there is value in the journey.
Yes.
It is sometimes it's the story of how you got there and how you
Mhm.
became the captain.
Well,
And
listen,
that was very appealing to me. I know some people were not as much of fans of that, but for me, I love seeing that. And you keyed
See,
in
I
on
don't know
exactly.
those people. I loved it. So I'm here for it. I'm not hearing anything else.
well, thank you both so much for joining us. Please remind us how to buy tickets and the dates and the website.
You're going to buy tickets at treklongisland.com, and you are going to go to the convention between, as I read it again,
Checks or notes.
May 30th to June 1st, 2025. It's in Hauppauge on Long Island at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Go to treklongisland.com, buy your tickets today.
Awesome. Thank you again. I will definitely I can't wait to meet you guys at the convention
Fun.
in person. But then we'll have to reconnect afterwards. And it'll be great.
We'll get waffle fries.
Yes. Waffle fries. All right. I would like to thank my wonderful co-hosts, Damian, Lenita,
Thanks, Mike
as
Jones.
always.
Thanks, Mike Jones.
And thank you, dear listener, for joining us today and listening to us. Please leave us a 5-star review. You can find us on the socials and on YouTube at Hailing Freak Open or hailingfrequenciesopen.com. And with that, I think I will say, Hailing Frequencies closed.
No goodbyes. Just good memories. Hailing frequencies closed, sir.